Okay, so I've got my LSB here right in front of me, and that's my ELW over there, which I was just using that. So first things first. What have you got here? So you've got the LSB. In the LSB, there's 5 settings of the Divine Service. I don't know. I'm not going to pretend that I know. Basically, at the front, you've got your Psalter, right? And then you've got your Divine Services somewhere in this region. In this region here, you've got your special services. You've got it calls it daily prayer, but you've got Liturgy of the Hours, which is morning, evening, compline. Actually, that's over. Maybe I'm losing my mind. That must be. Where is that? Yeah, no, just losing my mind. Okay, so the way I have mine laid out, usually, I'm not using this one right now permanently, so I don't have my ribbons in, but basically, I mean, you can just buy these at a store, right? But basically, what I always do is, and this one actually doesn't need as many sticky notes. You see I've got one there by the small catechism in the back, which is important to know. There's a small catechism in the back of every service book. But because this one has these page markers, I don't need so many sticky notes, you see. So here in the middle, not the middle, but here, right before whatever this is, the small catechism. Yeah, so this one's not in the back. So I always have a sticky note at the small catechism. Right before the small catechism, there's always the Athanasian Creed. If you're looking for the other creeds, they're all over the service book in the liturgies, but there's also, if I can grab these pages with one hand, they're almost always at the back, right there, on the right on the flap there. Lord's Prayer, creeds, all that good stuff. So here in the middle, so that's my first sticky note. Well, not my first. I have a sticky note over here, small catechism. Use that all the time. And then there's a shortened daily prayer thing, right? So, and I have a sticky note here as well. And the reason that I do that is because, well, sometimes I'm on the go. Sometimes I'm praying noontime prayer. And these are technically called suffrages, except these. So a suffrage is like a shorter liturgy that goes between the normal hours. So you've got morning here, technically not a suffrage, but that just means that would technically be a shorter matins, shorter morning prayer. You've got noontime, and then you've got early evening, right? And mealtime prayers. Mealtime prayers are pretty core. So that's why I have the sticky note here for those suffrages if I'm using the LSB. Then you've got your lectionary, which if you are, if you're using the lectionary, which technically we all should be, because that's really good sign of unity, not a sign of unity, it's really good to always be reading the same thing as the rest of the church. So it might be a good idea if you wanted to, because the breviary is going by the lectionary, right? So technically, you should be using that. So you'd put a sticky note there. And there's also, I believe, a lectionary of the Psalms. Yeah, table of Psalms. So kind of like they're not limiting the amount of Psalms, but they're assigning you certain Psalms to repeat every day of the week for certain times, right? So you see we're in Advent. These are the Psalms you would do by day, but that's not necessary, right? So you can make this as complicated or as simple as you want. Then you've got some prayers and intercessions, and these are collects. These aren't all the collects of the church, but these by no means, right? But these are some useful ones, and if you wanted a really robust prayer life, just cycle through them. Just go through like a page or two a day, and you could put a sticky note there. If you see I have 2 ribbons here. If you added a third ribbon, you could add one here, or if you're not using because what I use these 2 for is one ribbon is in the Psalms, so in the Advent section, or the hymns Advent section. Advent. That's not going to focus. Advent there, and the other one is in the Psalms, right, in the Psalter, right there. So yeah, so you've got your collects here, and hymns back here. So what you would do if you're me is you would put a ribbon here, and depending on how many ribbons are in your Bible, your other ribbon will go somewhere in the Psalms, wherever you are in the Psalms at the moment. And then I have this third sticky note here by the prayers, the litanies. So this one is responsive prayer. This is the morning litany. And then you have responsive prayer 2, another litany, and then you have the very traditional, the litany, okay? And so I cycle through those as well. And that's good for remembering. As you do these things every day, they get like ingrained in your mind anyway. So you kind of memorize parts of it, and so it's in your mind. This is prayer and preaching. This is at the end of the divine services, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And I use this also for noontime prayer. If I feel like noontime prayer of the suffrage is like really lame and not enough. Oh, it's at the end of the Liturgy of the Hours. That's probably a good choice, actually. Yeah, so what this one is basically you've got some scripture readings, some canticles to sing, and it's good. It's technically the divine service that's used when communion is not being used, but honestly, I think everybody agrees it works better for like just as a morning prayer or evening prayer would work, kind of like that. And you see that it's really catechism focused, and here you have catechetical instruction right there. Litany in there. So, and basic structure of any of the other daily offices. So to go to a daily office, let's see, evening prayer. Oh, and the LSB also, by the way, it has 2 settings for, I don't know if it has 2 comp line settings, but at the very least, it has 2 settings for evening and morning. One is matins, which is traditional, then it has morning prayer. Morning prayer is shorter as well. And then it has vespers, more traditional and longer, and then it has evening prayer. So this is evening prayer we're looking at. So the structure here, intro it and all that good stuff. And so basically you sing this stuff. And as I was saying, if you don't know how to sing it or read music, listen to that album on Spotify. I think it's also on YouTube, of Concordia Publishing House, going through morning and matins, evening and vespers, and then comp line. And if you just you can listen to that while you sing it, so that it's not like you're singing it alone, or you can listen to it over and over and over again and memorize it basically. And then it moves into the psalmody. So this is already a set psalm that's in evening prayer, Psalm 141. And then here, additional prayers. Sorry, this is a collect. This is additional psalms. So in additional psalms is where if you had a breviary, it would say, and these are the 3 psalms. In the breviary and the Liturgy of the Hours, traditionally you do 3 psalms per hour, or per big hour. I don't know what they do for the suffrage. It's probably like 1. I don't know. But what I do is, because that's a lot of work, flipping back and forth, is I just wait till I'm done the liturgy, and then I do my 3 psalms. And then office hymn, I do that at the end as well. Office hymn is just 1 hymn. You just flip over to your ribbon. My ribbon's over there. And then you sing that. Right now we're in Advent, so you'd go right to the beginning. This is Christmas. That's too far. Advent, there you go. So you'd sing that. Then you do your readings. Now, if you're wanting to do what the breviary would do, you would go back to that lectionary. There we go. There's the lectionary, whatever day, wherever we are, somewhere around here. This is August, not even close. But yeah, so then you'd find the readings down here. You'd say first reading, say it's Ezekiel or probably Isaiah today, something like that, and have a reading from Isaiah. After that, O Lord, have mercy on us, thanks be to God. They do this stuff. Then you do your next readings, and then it says sermon or catechetical instruction. So basically, when the breviary has a writing from the church father, that's what it's doing. So instead of doing that, because we're using the Lutheran service book and we don't have a compendium of the church fathers, you'd flip to your catechism and you'd say, I don't know, what would you say? The fifth commandment, blah, blah, blah. You'd read a section of this. 10 Commandments, Creed, Lord's Supper, Baptism, which is really good for memorizing it, of course. And then, so you do that, Old Testament, 3 Psalms, and then if you say it's the morning, you do Old Testament, then in the evening you do 3 Psalms, and then you do Epistle, and then at Compline you do Gospel, technically. So what you would do, and then you go on to the Canticle, and that stuff, and that's just singing. We all know how that works. And then the litany, blah, 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 etc. And it's basically straightforward. So you just do it as you would do it in church. You just read and sing. Read that, sing that. Yeah, that's basically it. If you have any questions, you can let me know. But that's how I set mine up, and that's how the liturgies are to be done. Oh, and if you need help for singing the psalms, of course, there's the tones. There's the tones, the noted music at the front. Maybe that's at the back now that I think about it. Here's another lectionary. Glossary. Yeah, so here's the singing the psalms, the tones that you can sing them to. I usually sing tone I right there, and blah, 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 however that goes. And because I suck at singing and remembering tunes and tones, I will send you a link to the guy I use, but he sings all the tones on YouTube with psalms from the LSB. So you can either follow along with him on the psalms he does every day, or you can go in his catalog. He's also done, I think he's done Compline. I don't know if he's done the other hours, but he's definitely done one of them at least. So I'll send that to you.